Imagine with me, if you would, a car full of people. There are 6 people who want to go to the movies, but the car only seats 5. So who gets left out? There isn't room. Or let's say, for example, a child is told you can take all the toys you want with you on vacation as long as they fit in this bag. Well, of course, the child's only going to want to take everything in the bag plus another toy that doesn't fit. Why? We always want more than there's room for. Mary and Joseph found their way to Bethlehem, and when they got there, there was no room for them anywhere. And so they were left out. We often chide the innkeeper for not making room for them, or what a nice man he gave them their stables. Listen, we can argue till the cows come home, quite literally, what constitutes a stable, what constitutes an inn, or an innkeeper that's not actually mentioned in the Bible. There are lots of things we can talk about that we don't get. But I want to talk about the one thing we do know. There was no room for them. Now, when we say there's no room, that means we're going to have to leave something out. And we imply 2 things. Number 1, either we have everything that we can handle, and we can handle it, or I don't need what you've got. I just haven't got room. Well, the world wasn't ready for Jesus, but ready or not, here he was. The world didn't make room for a Savior, but it needed one. They didn't make room for another baby, and yet the one that was born grew to be even greater than Caesar in power and glory. And the world wasn't ready, didn't have room for the babe that came into the world that night in Bethlehem, and yet he changed the course of that very world. Ready or not, here he is. The question is, of course, we're here 2,000 years later, and how have we progressed? Have we made any more room for him? I'm afraid the older that we get, the more advanced we become and the more progressive we grow, the less we have room for Jesus. You know, my wife always reminds me, you can't just keep adding and adding and adding things without letting something go. You just haven't got room. And she's right. When we add Jesus into our lives, we need to let something go because there isn't room for everything and adding Jesus on top. I need to let go of old things. There isn't room for the old and the new, or as may be the case, the wrong and the right. The Bible reminds us in the book of James that fresh and salt water can't both flow from the same spring. And when we make room for Jesus, we need to let go of old habits and ideas that try to pull us away, or at worst, they try to straddle a life of honor to God and celebratory among men. We need to make room for Jesus and for him only, because ready or not, here he is. There's an old hymn that says, have you any room for Jesus, he who bore your load of sin? I like the second verse of that hymn. Room for pleasure, room for business, but for Christ the crucified, not a place that he can enter in the heart for which he died. What room are you making for Jesus this Christmas? Or are you trying to just add something on that you really don't have room for, but you're going to make a good show of it? Are you willing to drop something that drags you away from him? Because ready or not, here he comes. And he's looking for room in your life. I hope you, and I too, will make room and rejoice with the angels as we adore him.